The room is electric with tension, the air thick with the scent of camera flashes and hastily scribbled notes. Taylor Swift sits at the center of a long table, poised and polished, her hands resting lightly on the microphone in front of her. Her expression is calm, practiced, but beneath the composure there's something sharper in her eyes. This isn't her first press conference, and she knows exactly how to navigate the verbal minefield laid before her. Journalists fire off questions like rounds in a high-stakes game. Taylor, is it true that your latest single is a direct response to the comments made by... Reports say you had a private conversation with... There are rumors circulating about a potential feud with... The questions come fast, each laced with insinuation, each designed to provoke. Taylor's lips twitch in a controlled smile. She's answered all of these before. She knows how to sidestep, how to deflect with charm, how to hold her power in a room full of flashing lights and raised voices. She leans into the mic. I think my fans know by now that I focus on making music, not feeding drama. I'd rather talk about... But before she can steer the conversation, a small voice cuts through the chaos. Taylor. It's not a journalist's voice, not clipped, not demanding. It's soft, trembling. For the first time in 20 minutes, the room stills. The cameras keep rolling, pens hover above notepads. Taylor's head turns slightly, her sharp, industry-trained radar catching the change in energy. Security, poised at the edges of the room, glance at each other, unsure if they should intervene. A little girl stands near the back, barely tall enough to be seen behind the crowded press rows. She clutches a microphone handed to her by a sympathetic reporter. Her hands tremble, but her wide eyes, hopeful, expectant, are locked onto Taylor. The tension in Taylor's shoulders eases just a little. "What's your question, sweetheart?" she asks gently, her voice a stark contrast to the aggressive back and forth of moments ago. The girl swallows hard, gripping the mic tighter. "Do you ever have dreams you're afraid won't come true?" A hush falls over the press conference. For the first time that day, Taylor doesn't have an immediate answer. The silence in the room is deafening. Just moments ago, it was a battlefield, reporters firing off rapid questions, camera shutters clicking like machine gun fire, murmurs of speculation rippling through the crowd. Now, all of it has come to a screeching halt. All eyes shift to the little girl standing near the back. She's small, barely past 10, her sneakers scuffing against the polished floor as she grips the microphone with both hands. A press badge, far too big for her, hangs around her neck, swaying slightly from her unsteady breathing. Taylor's expression softens, the rehearsed composure slipping just a little. "What's your name, honey?" she asks, her voice warm, steady. The girl hesitates, then clears her throat. "Emily." Taylor nods. "That's a beautiful name. What's your question?" Emily swallows, glancing around at the sea of strangers watching her. For a second, doubt flickers in her wide eyes, but then she straightens her shoulders, small but determined. "Do you ever have dreams you're afraid won't come true?" The room holds its breath. It's such a simple question, yet it carries a weight that no journalist's interrogation could match. It isn't about industry feuds or calculated narratives. It isn't designed to trip her up or twist her words into headlines. It's real. Taylor stares at Emily, the question settling in her chest like a stone dropped into water. Something in the girl's voice, hopeful, fragile, hits deeper than she expected. For the first time that afternoon, Taylor doesn't have an immediate answer. Her carefully curated media persona fades, replaced by something raw, something real. She opens her mouth, then closes it, as if searching for the right words. The cameras are still rolling. The journalists who moments ago were circling like vultures are now silent. Even they know this is something different. This is not the press conference they came for. Taylor takes a breath and then, with a voice quieter than before, she finally speaks. Taylor blinks, once, twice. The question lingers in the air, so simple, yet so piercing that it catches her completely off guard. She isn't used to this, real vulnerability in a setting like this. Not here, not now, not under the unrelenting glare of cameras and reporters who are trained to dissect every word, every hesitation, every flicker of emotion. She can feel the shift in the room. The journalists who moments ago were trying to bait her into controversy have fallen into an uneasy silence, their pens hovering, waiting. The lenses zoom in, capturing every micro-expression, the slight parting of her lips, the soft furrow in her brow, the quick inhale she takes as if steadying herself. For a moment, she doesn't answer. She can't. It's not that she doesn't have an answer, it's that she has too many. Flashes of memory flood her mind, being 14, sitting on the edge of her bed in Pennsylvania, wondering if she was foolish to believe she could ever make it. Standing in front of record executives at 12, strumming her guitar with shaky fingers as they nodded politely, but ultimately passed. The long nights writing, rewriting, convincing herself that if she just worked hard enough one day, someone would listen. But she also remembers the doubt, the gnawing voice that whispered late at night, "What if this never happens for me? What if I'm just another girl with a guitar and a dream?" Her fingers press against the microphone, grounding herself in the present. The weight of the moment settles in her chest, heavy and undeniable. This isn't just a press conference anymore. This is something else. The girl, Emily, shifts slightly, nervous but hopeful. She doesn't know what she's just done. She doesn't know she's cracked open something Taylor has spent years learning how to protect. The cameras are still waiting. The journalists are still waiting. And finally, Taylor exhales and speaks, not as the global superstar, not as the industry icon, but as the girl who once sat in her bedroom and wondered the very same thing. Taylor exhales, but before she can speak, her mind yanks her backward. Suddenly she's not sitting at a polished press conference table, not under the blinding lights of cameras. She's in her childhood bedroom in Pennsylvania, cross-legged on the carpet, surrounded by notebooks filled with lyrics scribbled in the margins of her school assignments. The dim glow of a bedside lamp casts long shadows on the walls, and outside, the wind howls against the window pane. She's 13, her fingers raw from strumming her guitar for hours. A fresh rejection letter sits crumpled on the floor next to her bed, one of many. The words sting, even though she tries to ignore them. "You have potential, but we don't see a market for a young female country artist at this time." Her parents told her not to let it get to her. Keep writing, keep practicing. Your time will come. But what if they were wrong? What if she was chasing something impossible? The fear was always there, lurking just beneath the surface. Every time she watched a music award show, every time she saw a singer on the radio, charts, she'd ask herself, will that ever be me? Then another memory crashes into her. She's 14, sitting in the back seat of her family's car, staring out the window as the Nashville skyline comes into view. Her heart is pounding. This is it, the city of dreams, the place where it could all happen. She remembers walking into an office, clutching a demo CD with sweaty hands, her mother beside her, smiling, trying to be encouraging. a man in a suit, listens, nods, and then politely says, "You're talented, but you're too young. Come back in a few years." A few years? She wanted it now. Back in her room that night, she fought tears. She wondered if she should stop trying, stop believing in something that felt further away every day. But she didn't. She picked up her guitar again, wrote another song, and whispered to herself, "Maybe tomorrow someone will listen." The memory tightens in her throat. Sitting at the press conference, she swallows hard. Emily's question echoes in her head. "Do you ever have dreams you're afraid won't come true?" Yes. 1,000 times yes. The cameras are still locked on her, the world waiting for an answer. Taylor blinks, snapping back to the present, and, finally, she speaks. Taylor leans forward, the polished distance she usually maintains in these settings slipping away. Her voice drops, not the performative softness of a media-trained answer, but something real, something raw. "I used to be scared that my dreams wouldn't come true," she says, her fingers curling slightly against the microphone. The room doesn't just quiet, it holds its breath. The reporters, once ready to dissect every word for a headline, now hesitate to interrupt. Even the camera operators, who are trained to capture but not react, seem caught in the weight of the moment. Taylor exhales, staring past the lights, past the rows of expectant faces, as if seeing something else entirely. "There was a night," she says, her voice steady but laced with something unspoken, "when I almost stopped. I almost convinced myself that it wasn't going to happen." She hesitates, just for a second, then presses on. "I was 14. I'd been going door to door down Music Row in Nashville, handing out my demo CD to anyone who'd take it. Most of them smiled, took the CD, and probably never played it. Some told me I was too young. Others didn't even bother to say no, they just ignored me. That night, I sat on my bedroom floor, staring at my guitar. I remember thinking, what if this is it? What if I never make it? What if I spend years chasing something that's never going to happen?" She pauses. The silence is thick now, the weight of her words pressing against the walls of the room. Even the journalists, who are usually eager to pounce on any pause, don't dare to interrupt. Taylor swallows, her gaze flickering to Emily. The little girl who unknowingly cracked, opened something Taylor never expected to share. "The thing is," she continues, "I didn't have any proof that it was going to work out. No one promised me I'd get a record deal. No one promised me I'd ever be on a stage, let alone playing in stadiums. All I had was this feeling inside me, this thing that wouldn't let me stop." She shakes her head slightly, as if still amazed by the memory. "That night I told myself, just one more song. Just write one more song." She leans back slightly, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she smiles, small, almost wistful. "I don't know what would have happened if I didn't write that song. Maybe I would have stopped. Maybe you wouldn't even know my name today." A murmur ripples through the audience, not loud, but enough to feel the energy shift. Taylor glances at Emily again. The girl's eyes glisten, her tiny fingers clutching the microphone, like it's the most important thing in the world. Taylor's voice softens even more. "But I did write that song. And then another. And then another. And here we are." The moment lingers, suspended in time. Then finally Taylor exhales and says, "So?" "Yes, Emily. I was scared my dreams wouldn't come true, but I chased them anyway." The little girl lets out a shaky breath, and before she can stop herself, a tear slips down her cheek. The cameras catch it. The world is watching, and nobody expected this. Taylor looks past the cameras, her mind slipping into another memory. She was 14, curled up on her bedroom floor, her guitar resting across her lap. The soft glow of a bedside lamp flickered against the posters on her walls, country stars she admired, artists whose songs she played over and over, wondering if she'd ever be one of them. That night had been one of the hardest. The rejections were piling up. She had spent the last year walking into offices on Music Row, her demo CD clutched so tightly in her hands that the edges bent. She'd sat in lobbies, staring at framed platinum records, feeling impossibly small in comparison. She'd played in front of executives who smiled politely, nodded at the right moments, and then told her she wasn't ready. Too young, too country, not what they were looking for. The words haunted her, looping in her mind as she strummed absently, her fingers pressing into the strings harder than they needed to. Her mum knocked gently on the door before stepping in. Taylor didn't look up, just kept playing, but her mum knew. She always knew. "You know you don't have to do this," her mother said softly. Taylor's hands froze mid-chord. She looked up, surprised. Her mother wasn't telling her to quit. She was giving her permission to. "If it ever gets too much," her mom continued, kneeling beside her, "you can stop. You're allowed to change your mind." Taylor stared down at the wood grain of her guitar. Did she want to stop? Would it be easier to let it go, to focus on school? To be a normal teenager who didn't spend every waking moment trying to be something the world wasn't ready for? She thought about it. She let herself really think about it. And then, as if something inside her refused to let go, she shook her head. "I can't," she whispered. Not because someone was forcing her to chase this dream, not because she wanted to prove anything to the people who said no, but because the thought of walking away, of never writing another song, of never standing on a stage and singing her own words, felt worse than any rejection she'd ever gotten. Her mom smiled then, just a little. "Then don't." It wasn't a grand speech. It wasn't a cinematic moment where the universe handed her a sign. It was a quiet, private realization that she couldn't stop. Because deep down, she knew, whether the world wanted her or not, she was a songwriter, a performer, and she was going to fight for it. Back in the press conference, Taylor's eyes refocus, the weight of the memory pressing against her chest. "That was the moment," she says finally, her voice thick with emotion. "That was the night I realized this wasn't just a dream I wanted. It was who I was. And no matter how many times people told me no, I wasn't going to stop." The room is still, hanging on to every word. Emily stares at her, eyes glistening, as if holding on to that truth for herself. And somewhere in the crowd, a journalist lowers their pen. Because they're no longer just covering a press conference. They're witnessing a moment that might just change a little girl's life. Emily clutches the microphone like it's the only thing keeping her grounded. Her fingers tighten around it, her knuckles pale. She doesn't move. She barely breathes. Taylor's words hang in the air, raw and real, and Emily feels them settle deep in her chest. This isn't just a pop star answering a question. It isn't just another polished speech for the cameras. It's everything. Her lips part slightly as if she wants to say something, but she doesn't. She just listens. She had expected an answer. Maybe something simple, something reassuring. Don't give up. Keep trying. The kind of thing adults always say when they don't know what else to tell you. But this was different. She sees it in Taylor's eyes, the way she's really remembering, the way her voice thickened when she talked about being 14 and doubting herself. She wasn't just saying these things to be kind, she had felt them. Emily knows what it's like to stare at a dream and wonder if it's slipping through her fingers. She knows what it's like to want something so badly it almost hurts, And now, as she listens, she knows something else too. Taylor Swift, the woman standing before her, the one who sings in sold-out stadiums and wins awards and has millions of fans screaming her name, felt the same way once. The thought makes her chest tighten, but in a different way now, because if Taylor could have doubts and still make it, then maybe, just maybe, Emily could too. A single tear slips down her cheek, but she doesn't wipe it away. She lets it fall. The press conference room, once filled with tension and noise, is now silent, waiting for what happens next. The microphone trembles in her grip. Her voice is barely a whisper when she finally speaks. "So, you were scared too?" Taylor's gaze softens. She nods, just once. "Yeah, I was." Emily swallows hard, her small shoulders rising as she takes in a shaky breath. She doesn't know it yet, but this is the moment everything changes for her. The air in the room is different now, heavy, charged with something no one can quite name. A few minutes ago, this was just another press event, a routine stop on a global tour, a carefully managed exchange between a superstar and the media. The journalists had come armed with questions, some sharp, some calculated, all designed to grab headlines. But now their pens are still. Their cameras, though still recording, aren't looking for scandal anymore. They're capturing something they weren't prepared for. Even the most hardened reporters, the ones who've spent years digging through celebrity lives, tearing apart public personas, look affected. Some lean forward slightly, brows furrowed, as if trying to process what they're witnessing. Others glance at each other, silently acknowledging the shift. They had come expecting a story about a pop star. Instead, they're watching something real. Taylor isn't just answering a question anymore. She isn't dodging rumors or promoting a single. She's sitting here exposed, speaking not as a music industry powerhouse, but as a girl who once stared at her own dreams with the same kind of fear that now lingers in Emily's eyes. It's no longer about PR, no longer about narratives. It's about a child, one who just asked a question that cut through everything. Emily, still clutching the microphone, doesn't notice the way the room has changed. She's too caught in the moment, too lost in Taylor's words. But the adults see it. They feel it. A veteran journalist in the front row, a man known for his cynicism, clears his throat and shifts in his chair. A woman to his left lowers her, notepad tapping her pen absently against the paper, lost in thought. This isn't what any of them expected to write about today. And yet they all know this is the only thing that matters now. Taylor glances at the reporters, her eyes scanning the room, as if realizing for the first time that she's broken the script, but she doesn't pull back. She doesn't try to steer the moment back to safety. She stays in it. The little girl in front of her deserves nothing less. Taylor swallows, gripping the microphone a little tighter. She isn't sure why, but there's a lump in her throat now. A weight pressing against her ribs. The moment feels bigger than her, bigger than this room, bigger than the cameras that are still rolling. She looks at Emily, the girl who has unknowingly peeled back the layers of years of rehearsed responses, media-trained answers, and industry polish. Taylor feels exposed in a way she hasn't in a long time. But she doesn't run from it. She leans in slightly, making sure Emily hears her. "The truth is," she says, her voice softer now, "you don't always know if your dreams will come true." A flicker of something crosses Emily's face. Fear, maybe. Doubt. The very thing Taylor knows all too well. Taylor lets the silence linger for a beat before she continues, her voice steady but thick with something real. But you chase them anyway, she says. You put everything you have into them, and sometimes... She exhales, a small, almost disbelieving smile tugging at the corner of her lips. Sometimes the world surprises you. She sees Emily's fingers tighten around the microphone, sees the way her small chest rises and falls as she takes that in. For a second, Taylor wonders if she should say more, if she should tell her that even now, even after everything, after the albums, the awards, the sold-out stadiums, she still has dreams she's afraid of losing. That fear never fully goes away, but maybe that's the point, because if you stop being scared, then maybe it means you've stopped caring. A flicker of emotion betrays her, just for a second. Her voice wavers at the edges, the kind of crack that no amount of performance training can smooth over. She feels it in her throat, behind her ribs. Emily sees it too. And in that tiny moment, something unspoken passes between them. The cameras are still watching, the journalists still waiting, but right now, none of it matters. Right now, it's just a little girl with a dream, and a woman who once was her. Emily's breath shudders. She hadn't expected this, hadn't expected to feel her chest tighten like this, hadn't expected her throat to burn or her vision to blur. She grips the microphone harder, trying to hold herself together, trying to be brave, but then it happens. A single tear slips down her cheek. She wipes it away fast, almost instinctively, as if she can erase the emotion before anyone sees, but she's too late. The cameras catch it. The journalists catch it, and Taylor, sitting just a few feet away, sees it too. The room, once filled with noise and flashing lights, is still. Emily doesn't even know why she's crying. Maybe it's because no one has ever explained dreams like this before. Maybe it's because, for the first time, she doesn't feel so small when she thinks about what she wants. Or maybe it's because she realizes right here, in this moment, that Taylor understands. Not in a distant celebrity way, not in a vague follow your dreams kind of way, but in a real way. Taylor doesn't look away. She doesn't rush to smooth over the moment or make it lighter. Instead, she gives Emily a small, knowing nod as if to say, "It's okay, I get it." A ripple of quiet emotion moves through the room. The journalists shift in their seats. The camera operators, who have spent years capturing staged moments, keep rolling, because this isn't staged, this is real. And in the silence that follows, Emily exhales shakily. For the first time, she believes in the answer she got. The press conference isn't even over when the first clips hit social media. A reporter in the third row, still holding his phone up from recording the moment, fires off a quick tweet Taylor Swift just made. A little girl cry in the most beautiful way. This wasn't a press conference. This was something else. Another journalist posts a 30-second clip, cutting right to the moment where Taylor leans in and says, "Sometimes the world surprises you." Within minutes, his Taylor Swift Dreams starts trending. Fans begin reposting the clip, their captions all carrying a similar theme. "Taylor Swift just made me cry. This wasn't just an answer. This was a moment. The way that little girl wiped her tear, I can't." The original video, shaky but clear, spreads like wildfire across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Swifties dissect every detail, Taylor's voice catching, Emily's wide eyes, the weight of the silence in the room. A fan account with millions of followers reposts it with the caption, "Taylor just stopped an entire press conference to inspire a little girl. This is why she's different." Before the hour is up, the clip has been viewed over 2 million times. People who weren't even following the press conference are now locked in. Comment sections flood with personal stories, fans opening up about their own childhood dreams, their struggles, the moments they almost gave up. Someone posts a side-by-side video. On the left, young Taylor at 14, singing in a small cafe, awkward and hopeful. On the right, today, Taylor, global superstar, telling Emily that fear doesn't mean failure. The caption: proof that sometimes the world really does surprise you. The moment isn't just viral, it's bigger than viral, it's personal. The internet doesn't just watch, it responds. Within hours, the viral clip sparks a flood of reactions from fans, celebrities, and public figures alike. The emotional weight of Taylor's words and Emily's quiet, tearful reaction resonate far beyond Swifties. Celebrities weigh in. Selena Gomez reposts the video on her Instagram story with a single caption: "This is why she's Taylor Swift, Maren." Morris, a fellow country-turned-pop star, tweets, "Been there, felt that, chased it anyway." Even Beyoncé's official fan page shares the clip, adding, "Dreams don't come easy, but moments like this prove they're worth it." But it's Adele's comment that really takes people by surprise. She shares the video on her own social media with a heartfelt caption: "I nearly gave up at 16, one audition away from walking away. This made me tear up. Never stop believing even when it feels impossible." Psychologists and motivational figures weigh in. It isn't just artists chiming in. Mental health professionals, authors, and motivational speakers start analyzing why the moment hit so deeply. A Harvard psychology professor writes a Twitter thread explaining the emotional impact. Taylor Swift did something rare in media. She validated fear while encouraging perseverance. This is why people are reacting so strongly. We're used to hearing "just believe in yourself," but she acknowledged doubt and kept hope alive. Best-selling author Elizabeth Gilbert of Eat, Pray, Love, Fame comments, "Every creative person knows this fear, every single one. This moment is universal." Fans share their own stories. Under every post, thousands of fans flood the comments with their own experiences. "I stopped writing music at 18 because I thought I wasn't good enough. Watching this made me pick up my guitar again. I almost quit art school. This made me cry because I get it. As a kid, I was Emily. I wish I had a Taylor Swift moment back then." Some fans start using the hashtag #BikeDreams sharing their struggles, their breakthroughs, their almost gave up moments. Within 24 hours, the clip isn't just viral, it's a movement. People aren't just watching, they're remembering their own dreams, they're chasing them again. The internet is still reeling from the emotional press conference when a new revelation changes everything. A journalist from Rolling Stone, one who had been at the event, scribbling notes like everyone else, starts digging. The moment felt too raw, too real. Who was this little girl? What made her question hit Taylor so deeply? A few phone calls later, the truth comes out. Her name is Emily Carter, and she isn't just any young fan. Emily has been battling stage 3 lymphoma for the past year. She had spent more nights in a hospital bed than in her own room, her world reduced to IV drips, chemo treatments, and the rhythmic beeping of machines. The music she once loved to sing had become a distant dream, something she feared she'd never truly get to chase. A local Nashville nonprofit had arranged for her to attend the press conference, knowing how much Taylor meant to her. Emily had always wanted to be a singer, but her illness had made her question if she'd ever get the chance, and that's why she had asked that question. Do you ever have dreams you're afraid won't come true? Because deep down, she was terrified hers wouldn't. The internet reacts. Again, as soon as the story breaks, the internet erupts again. Only this time, the emotions run even deeper. Oh my God, I was already crying, but now I'm sobbing. This just hit a whole new level of heartbreak and inspiration. She wasn't just asking for herself. She was asking because she needed to know if hope was still worth it. The hashtag dreams, like Emily, surges again, now filled with messages of support and love for the little girl who had unknowingly touched millions. Celebrities chime in again, this time with even more urgency. Shawn Mendes tweets, "Emily, you're already a star. We're all rooting for you." Kelly Clarkson posts, "Someone get this girl a microphone and a studio ASAP." And then Taylor herself sees the story. She had felt it in the moment. There was something behind Emily's question, something deeper than just admiration. And now that she knows she has to do something big. While the world is still reeling from the revelation about Emily, Taylor is already in action. Sitting backstage after the press conference, she scrolls through her phone, reading the articles. The words hit her differently now. Stage 3, lymphoma. A little girl who wasn't just dreaming, she was fighting. Taylor doesn't hesitate. She turns to her team, her voice firm. "Find her family, quietly. No press, no cameras. I just want to see her." Her team moves fast, reaching out through the non-profit that arranged Emily's press pass. A few hushed phone calls later, they're in touch with Emily's parents. When Emily's mother picks up the phone, she sounds hesitant, exhausted. She had seen the viral clips, the outpouring of love, but she never expected this. "Hi, this is Taylor Swift's team," the assistant says gently. "Taylor wants to meet Emily, privately." Emily's mum is silent for a moment, trying to process the words. "Wait, what?" "No media, no publicity," the assistant reassures her. "Just Taylor and Emily." There's a pause, a shaky breath on the other end of the line. "She would love that," her mother whispers. Emily gets the news later that night. Emily is lying in bed, still overwhelmed by everything that's happened. She had never expected her question to reach so many people. The comments, the messages, the support. It's all too much to wrap her mind around. Then her mum walks in, sitting gently on the edge of the bed. She brushes a strand of hair from Emily's forehead, smiling, but her eyes are wet. "Sweetheart," she says softly. "Taylor wants to meet you." Emily blinks. She's sure she misheard. Her mum squeezes her hand. "Just you and her, no cameras, she asked for you." Emily stares, her small fingers tightening around the blanket. Then finally, the words sink in, and for the first time in a long time, the weight of fear lifts just a little. Because her dream won. She was so afraid she'd never get to chase, just took its first step toward reality. The door to the studio swings open and Emily steps inside, her tiny frame almost swallowed by the vast space. The room is warm, softly lit, with polished wooden floors and soundproof walls that have absorbed the voices of legends. And now, hers. She clutches her mum's hand as they step inside, but her breath catches when she sees her, Taylor Swift. Not on a stage. Not behind a microphone, just sitting at a grand piano, her long fingers lightly brushing the keys. She's in jeans and an oversized sweater, her hair pulled back in a casual ponytail. No cameras, no flashing lights, just Taylor. The superstar turns, her face lighting up when she sees Emily. "Hey, you?" Taylor stands up and walks over, kneeling so they're eye level. "I was hoping you'd come." Emily's throat is dry. She's dreamt about this moment, but never like this. She nods quickly, barely able to breathe. Taylor gestures toward the piano, her voice warm. Come sit with me." Emily hesitates for only a second before walking forward, climbing onto the piano bench beside her. She runs her fingers over the smooth, polished keys, almost in disbelief. Then Taylor asks, so gently, it almost feels like a secret. "What do you want to sing?" Emily freezes, her heart pounds, her dreams, her fears, her wildest hopes all swirl together in a single breath. This is the moment. And when she looks up, Taylor is watching her, not as a celebrity, not as an idol, but as someone who believes in her. Emily swallows, her hands trembling as she places them on the keys. And then her voice, soft but steady, fills the room. Emily takes a shaky breath. Her fingers rest lightly on the piano keys, her small hands almost dwarfed by the instrument. She glances up at Taylor, searching for reassurance. Taylor smiles. "Whenever you're ready." The studio is so quiet Emily can hear her own heartbeat. She presses down on the first note, her voice barely above a whisper. "I close my eyes and see the stars." Her voice is delicate, unpolished, but full of something raw, something real. Taylor listens for a moment, then gently joins in. "I wonder if they hear me from afar." The blend is effortless. Their voices weave together. Taylor's smooth and experienced, Emily's small but fierce. It isn't about perfection, it's about feeling. The studio staff, who had been quietly working in the background, slowly stop what they're doing. One by one, they turn to watch. A sound engineer subtly wipes his cheek. A producer, arms crossed, exhales a breath she didn't realize she was holding. And then Emily closes her eyes, her voice rising just a little stronger. "Even when I'm scared, even when I fall." Taylor looks at her. Something deep, flickering, in her gaze. She gently harmonizes. I keep singing through it all. The song, born in this moment, unwritten but felt, fills the space with something words alone can't capture. Emily's mum, standing in the back of the studio, presses a hand to her mouth. She's never heard her daughter sing like this before. Not with this kind of conviction, not with this kind of belief. As the last note fades, silence lingers. No one speaks. No one moves. Then Taylor turns to Emily, her eyes shining. "That," she says softly, "was beautiful." Emily blinks up at her as if trying to memorize this moment forever. And in that quiet, overwhelming space, for the first time in her life, she believes she's a singer. The last note lingers in the air, fading into the stillness of the studio. Emily sits frozen on the piano bench, her small chest rising and falling, her fingers still lightly touching the keys. She isn't sure if she's dreaming. The warmth of the moment, the sound of her own voice mixing with Taylor's, it feels too surreal, too impossible. But then Taylor turns to her, her expression soft, yet full of certainty. "If you ever record a song," she says, her voice steady, real, "I'll help the world hear it." Emily gasps, her small hands flying up to her mouth. Her mum, standing just a few feet away, stifles a choked sob. Even the studio staff exchange wide-eyed glances. Did she just say that? Emily blinks, her mind scrambling to process what just happened. Did Taylor Swift just promise to help her? She opens her mouth, but no words come out. Taylor gently places a hand on her shoulder. "I mean it," she says, her voice warm but firm. "You have something special, Emily. When you're ready, when you write something that feels like you let me know." Emily shakes her head slightly as if trying to wake herself up. But how?" she whispers. Taylor smiles. "Don't worry about that. Just promise me you won't stop singing." Emily nods, hard. Tears spill down her cheeks, but she isn't wiping them away this time. The promise is too big, too unreal, and too magical. But in Taylor's eyes, there's no doubt. No hesitation. She means it, and just like that, Emily's dream, one she had been so afraid would never come true, has taken on a whole new life. It starts as a quiet ripple, then turns into a tidal wave. At first, no one knows where the video came from. It isn't a flashy, high-production recording. It's raw, shaky, clearly filmed on a phone from the back of the studio. The lighting is dim, but Taylor and Emily's voices cut through the grainy footage with undeniable emotion. The caption is simple: Taylor Swift and Emily, a moment the world wasn't supposed to see. The video, barely 2 minutes long, begins with Emily's small, uncertain voice, the tremble in her hands. Then Taylor's voice joins hers, soft at first, guiding, lifting. And then that moment, the moment Emily believes. By the time they sing the last line together, the internet is already on fire. The clip spreads like wildfire. Within an hour, it racks up over 500,000 views. By the time the morning hits, it has passed 10 million to Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Every platform is flooded with the same reactions. I just ugly cried. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. She's not just a little girl anymore. She's a singer. You can hear the exact moment when Emily believes in herself. Celebrities start weighing. In the clip, reaches the industry faster than anyone expected. Halsey retweets it with, "I don't know who leaked this, but thank you, I have chills." Ariana Grande posts on her Instagram story, "This is what music is about." Ed Sheeran, one of Taylor's closest friends, shares it with a simple caption, "Someone get Emily a mic, like yesterday." Musicians begin reaching out to Emily. Before the world even learns her last name, record labels are in her mom's inbox. Producers are offering free studio time. Songwriters are saying they'll help her craft her first song. And then Taylor herself acknowledges the leak. Taylor breaks the internet. Again, she posts the clip on her own Instagram with a caption that makes fans scream, "I guess the world wasn't ready to wait. Neither was I. Emily, let's make some music." The internet loses it. Within minutes, it's Emily and Taylor trends worldwide. She isn't just a little girl who asked a question at a press conference anymore. Emily is now a name people remember. Emily is sitting on her bed, scrolling through endless messages on her mum's phone. The past 24 hours have been unreal. She's watched the duet with Taylor at least 100 times, not believing that's her voice playing on millions of screens around the world. Her hands still shake every time she sees another notification pop up. Then her mum's phone rings. She glances at the caller ID and gasps, "Oh my God!" Emily's heart pounds. "Who is it?" Her mum just stares at the screen, then slowly answers. "Hello?" The voice on the other end is smooth, professional. Someone used to making big deals, very big deals. "Mrs. Carter, this is Mark Reynolds, Senior VP of A&R at Republic Records." Emily's breath catches. Republic Records, Taylor's label. The home of some of the biggest artists in the world. Mark's tone is warm but direct. "We saw Emily's video, the entire world saw it, and we want to talk about her future." Her mother grips the phone tighter. Her future. "We want to fly Emily out to Los Angeles. We'd love to meet her, talk about what's possible, maybe even get her in the studio to record her first single." Emily stops breathing. The world tilts. Her mother looks at her, eyes wide with disbelief. "Did you just say first single?" Mark chuckles. "That's right. We think Emily has something special, and we're pretty sure the world agrees. Emily lets out a tiny, stunned gasp. Her dream, the one she almost gave up on, the one she was afraid would never happen, just became very, very real. Emily stands in the center of a massive recording studio in Los Angeles, staring at the microphone in front of her. Her name is on the session schedule. Engineers, producers, and executives are watching from the other side of the glass, but she isn't thinking about them. She's thinking about that moment in the press conference. She's thinking about Taylor's words. You don't always know if your dreams will come true, but you chase them anyway. Emily takes a deep breath, closes her eyes, and when she sings the first note, it's real. The song is called Chasing Stars. It's not a song about fame. It's about hope. It's about fear. About sitting in your bedroom wondering if you'll ever get there. About the moment when someone believes in you enough to make you believe in yourself. And it's undeniable. The world falls in love with Emily's story. Republic Records had planned a soft release, maybe a quiet introduction to the industry. But the moment Chasing Stars drops, something insane happens. The song explodes, not because of marketing, not because of radio play, because people believe in her. She was never supposed to be here, but she is, and she's proving why. Within 24 hours, the song reaches number 3 on the iTunes charts. Within a week, it hits 10 million streams on Spotify. Then something even crazier happens. Taylor herself posts about it. You chased the stars, Emily, and now the world is watching you shine. The numbers skyrocket. Billboard takes notice. Music critics, industry professionals, and fans alike start paying attention. Rolling Stone writes, Chasing Stars is more than a song, it's a movement. Emily is proof that dreams, no matter how impossible they seem, are worth fighting for. The Billboard Hot 100 debut shocks everyone. Emily's first ever song, written from the heart, debuts at number 11, higher than some of the biggest stars in the world. The dream she once thought was slipping away? Now it's unstoppable. The stadium is electric. Taylor Swift stands at the center of a massive stage, bathed in golden light, her guitar slung over her shoulder. 80,000 fans scream her name, waving glow sticks, singing along to every word. The energy is overwhelming, the kind of once-in-a-lifetime magic that only happens at a Taylor Swift concert. Then she stops. The music fades, the lights shift, dimming just slightly. The roar of the crowd settles into a curious murmur. Taylor walks slowly to the edge of the stage, microphone in hand. There's someone here tonight, she says, her voice warm but commanding. Someone who has a dream. The crowd erupts into a frenzy, excitement surging through the stadium. Fans start whispering, gasping, "Who? What's happening?" Taylor smiles, letting the anticipation build. Then she lifts a hand toward the side of the stage. "Emily, come out here!" For a heartbeat, there's silence. Then Emily steps into the light. The stadium loses it. A deafening roar explodes from the audience as thousands of fans recognize her instantly. The little girl from the press conference, the viral duet, the singer of the song that's been climbing the charts, Chasing Stars. Emily's hands tremble as she walks forward, her small frame dwarfed by the enormous stage. Her heart is pounding so hard she can hear it over the screams. The stadium stretches endlessly before her, a sea of glowing lights and faces. And then Taylor turns to her, smiling. "You ready?" Emily swallows hard, gripping the microphone in her hands. She looks out at the crowd, at thousands of people who know her song, who believe in her dream. She takes a deep breath, and then she sings. The first note is small, tentative, but then the band kicks in and something shifts. The nervousness fades, the fear melts away, because now this isn't just a dream, this is real. 80,000 voices join in, singing along to her song, and Emily, she owns the moment. The first few notes of Chasing Stars echo through the stadium, soft but sure. Emily's voice, once so uncertain, now fills the massive space, and then it happens. One by one, thousands of fans pull out their phones, lighting up the night like a sea of stars. The entire stadium glows, an endless wave of twinkling lights stretching into the horizon. Emily's breath catches in her throat. This was something she had only imagined in her wildest dreams. She grips the microphone tighter, steadying herself. But then she glances to her right, and there's Taylor. Taylor isn't singing, she isn't taking the spotlight. She's just watching. Her face is filled with something even bigger than pride, something deeper. She sees herself in this moment. Young girl, once filled with fear but too stubborn to let it stop her. Emily's voice grows stronger, more confident with every word. She reaches the chorus, and before she even realizes it, the crowd is singing with her. 80,000 people, singing her words. She can barely believe it, barely process the sound of thousands of voices carrying the lyrics she wrote, lyrics that came from her heart. Tears sting her eyes, but she doesn't stop. She sings through them, pushing forward, letting the moment take over. And then Taylor steps forward, standing beside her. Not to take over, not to lead, just to be there. The final chorus swells, the lights in the stadium shimmering, and Emily lifts her voice, letting it soar higher than ever before. The last note fades into the night, and for a brief second, silence. Then the stadium erupts. Thunderous applause. Cheers so loud they shake the ground. Emily gasps, overwhelmed, covering her mouth as tears spill freely down her face. Taylor leans in, her voice soft in Emily's ear. "You did that." Emily looks at her, eyes wide, heart pounding, and for the first time in her life, she knows it's true. The moment Emily steps off the stage, still trembling from the sheer weight of it all, the internet has already made up its mind. She isn't just a little girl who asked a question anymore. She isn't just a singer with a viral duet. She is a symbol. The videos flood social media, clips of her standing next to Taylor, singing her heart out in front of 80,000 glowing lights, the crowd's deafening cheers, the look on her face when she realizes they're singing her words back to her. Hashtags explode across platforms. Dreams, like Emily, Emily, the dream girl. Never stop chasing stars. The headlines say it all, Rolling Stone. From cancer fighter to chart topper, how Emily became music's most inspiring new star. Variety. The girl who made Taylor Swift cry is now making the world cry. Billboard. She thought her dream was impossible. Now she's living it. Major brands reach out, not for deals, but to support her journey. Foundations dedicated to childhood cancer awareness, music scholarships, and dream-chasing initiatives flood her family's inbox, offering to help in any way they can. Beyoncé posts a picture of Emily with the caption, "A star is born, Dolly." Parton, a legend in country music, tweets, "Emily reminds me of another young songwriter I once met. Keep chasing those stars, sweet girl. You've got something special." Even Oprah shares Emily's story with a message that cements her new status. The whole world just watched a little girl prove that dreams, no matter how impossible, can come true. Emily, you are a light. Her song, Chasing Stars, skyrockets up the charts. Fans all over the world buy it, not because of hype, but because they believe in her. And Emily, she doesn't feel like the same girl who once sat in a hospital bed wondering if she'd ever get the chance to sing. Now she stands in front of a mirror, staring at herself, not as someone hoping to be a singer, but as someone who is one. She whispers the words to herself as if making a promise she will never break. I am Emily Carter. I am a singer, and I will never stop chasing my stars. The world doesn't just watch Emily's rise, it feels it. Taylor, still riding the high of that unforgettable night, takes to Instagram the next morning. She posts a picture, Emily, standing on stage, microphone in hand, the stadium glowing with thousands of phone lights behind her. Her caption is simple, but it changes everything. A little girl asked me about dreams, and then she showed the world how to chase them. Actually, dreams like Emily, that's all it takes. The hashtag becomes a global phenomenon. Within hours, dreams like Emily starts trending worldwide. But it's not just about Emily anymore. People, thousands, then millions, begin sharing their own dreams. A 17-year-old artist posts a picture of their sketchbook, writing, "I've always been scared to share my art. Not anymore." Dreams like Emily. A single mother balancing work and night classes tweets, "I thought I was too old to go back to school. I'm signing up for classes tomorrow." Dreams like Emily. An aspiring musician uploads a video of himself playing guitar in his bedroom. "I was afraid no one would listen, but maybe it's time to try." Dreams like Emily. Thousands of posts flood in, people sharing their fears, their goals, their chances they've been too scared to take. And the music industry? They take notice. Radio stations pick up the story. Across the country, radio hosts begin talking about Emily, not just as a singer, but as a movement. "We've never seen something like this before." One host says, "People aren't just supporting her. They're changing their own lives because of her." Stations across the world start playing Chasing Stars in heavy rotation. Listeners call in, sharing their own dreams live on air. "I always wanted to write a book, but I was too afraid. No one would read it. I've been wanting to start my own bakery, but I kept making excuses. Not anymore. I'm picking up my guitar again today. Thanks, Emily." Major organizations join in charities, schools, and youth programs, see what's happening, and decide to take action. A music foundation announces a new scholarship program, the Emily Carter Fund, to help young musicians record their first song. A cancer research non-profit launches a campaign, Dreams Don't Wait, inspired by Emily's story, raising millions in donations. Even Spotify and Apple Music create a featured playlist. Dreams like Emily, songs that inspire. Emily reacts, and it changes her, forever sitting in her bedroom, scrolling through thousands of messages. Emily is overwhelmed. She never expected this. She never thought her story could mean so much to so many. She turns to her mum, her voice shaky. "People are chasing their dreams because of me?" Her mum nods, tears in her eyes. "Because of you." Emily wipes her eyes, then picks up her phone. She records a short video. No makeup, no stage lights, just her. If you're out there wondering if your dream is too big, if you're scared it won't happen, I get it. I was scared too. But if I learned anything from this crazy journey, it's this: chase it anyway. Even if it feels impossible. Even if no one believes in it yet, because sometimes the world surprises you. She posts it with one last message: What's your dream? Tell me. Dreams, like Emily, and within minutes, the replies flood in. Emily's story is no longer just her story. It belongs to everyone now. The world has been watching. Emily's journey, from a little girl with a question to a singer standing before thousands, has shaken something deep in people. It's no longer just about music, it's about belief. And Taylor? She's been watching too. Late one night, long after the final encore of her latest concert, she sits in her dressing room, scrolling through the endless flood of posts. Stories of dreamers, of people who almost gave up, but didn't. People taking their first steps towards something they thought was impossible. She smiles and then she types. A little girl asked me about dreams, and she reminded me why we never stop believing. She attaches a photo, the moment on stage when Emily looked out at the crowd, her face glowing, her voice filling the stadium. She doesn't overthink it, doesn't polish the words, she just feels it. She hits post. Within minutes, her notifications explode. 1 million likes, 5 million, 10 million. It becomes one of the most shared posts of her entire career. Fans, celebrities, musicians, everyday people, everyone feels the weight of those words. Because it's not just about Emily anymore, it's about every person who's ever stared at a dream and wondered if it was too far away. It's about those who almost quit but didn't. It's about remembering why we keep going. And as Emily sits in her bedroom reading Taylor's post, she presses a hand to her heart. She whispers the words softly, as if promising them to herself. We never stop believing. Because now she knows that's how dreams come true. Emily Carter used to be the girl who sat in the back of a press conference, clutching a microphone with trembling hands, afraid to ask if her dreams were too big. Now, she stands in a recording studio, headphones on, her voice confident as she sings into the mic. Now, she walks onto red carpets, still in awe of the flashing cameras, but no longer afraid of them. Now, she gets messages from kids around the world saying, I want to be a singer too. You made me believe I can. Her life isn't just different, it's unrecognizable. After the success of Chasing Stars, Emily signs a record deal, not because of luck, not because of industry politics, but because people believed in her, because the world chose her. Her first EP is in the works. She collaborates with songwriters she once only dreamed of meeting. Taylor, true to her word, helps her along the way, not overshadowing, not controlling, just guiding. When her first official single drops, something crazy happens. It doesn't just chart, it debuts in the Billboard Top 10. The world knows her name now, and more importantly, she knows it belongs there. More than just a singer, a voice for dreamers. But Emily doesn't just want to be a star, she wants to be a voice. She starts speaking at schools, hospitals, music programs, anywhere kids are struggling, with doubt, with fear, with feeling like their dreams are too far away. She tells them about that day, about sitting in that room with a question that changed everything. I know what it feels like to think your dreams are impossible. I know what it's like to be scared to even say them out loud. But I also know this. If you chase them, if you refuse to let fear win, you might just end up somewhere you never imagined. You might just change your own life. The little girl who once needed that message now gives it to others. And when she stands backstage before a performance, feeling those same nerves creep in, she reminds herself, I asked if dreams can come true. Now I know the answer. She steps into the spotlight and sings like she was always meant to. It starts as a single post, one picture, shared by a fan. Emily Carter, now a little older, stands on stage, microphone in hand. The glow of the stage lights outlines her silhouette, but it's not the lights that capture attention, it's her expression. Gone is the timid girl who once hesitated before asking a question. Now her eyes are steady, focused, determined. The same look she had when she first heard thousands of people singing her words back to her. Underneath the image, Taylor Swift's words are written in bold, elegant font. You chase your dreams. And sometimes the world surprises you. The post spreads like wildfire. Fans save it, print it, use it as inspiration. It becomes more than a photo. It becomes a symbol for every kid who's ever doubted themselves, for every person standing at the edge of something terrifying, wondering if they should take the leap, because now they know dreams aren't just for the lucky, they're for the ones who dare to chase them. And Emily, she's just getting started.